I'm Paul.
I'm Todd. Game on.
I really like that intro.
Solid.
It's
It's
got that
solid.
retro look, that retro feel about it.
Pixel art never goes out of style.
So how you been?
I am good. It's good to see you. End of February episode for us. Are you staying warm where you are?
No,
Okay.
no.
Me
I
neither.
mean, today is not bad. It's 41, but we got hit with some more snow. Uh, Not much, a couple inches during that massive snowstorm last week. And prior to that, we had literally had 8 inches of snow, which was ice mostly. And it literally went away 2 days before we had the new snowstorm.
All right. Well, yeah, it's a solid below freezing here in Atlanta, which we are not used to. So, good times to stay indoors, play video games, watch people playing video games, make video games.
Has panic set in Atlanta once it's
No,
freezing?
we're fine. There's as long as there's no precipitation, we're okay. We don't deal with ice
I
well.
will never, ever, ever, ever give up my complete awe at how terrible it was for handling the snow last year when we did IRL 2025. It
It was
was
good.
unreal.
I walked there. I walked there from my house in the snow, and it was worth it. It was an awesome event. So
Yeah, I'm sorry you can't make it this year. I know you got some things you got to do for the family, but don't worry, there'll be a 2027, and I know we got our show, so we're
that's
good.
right, exactly. At least we get to connect before and after. It'll be a good event. So
So I got something. You know, as you know, I'm like a lunatic Diablo 4 player, right?
for sure.
And Blizzard made huge announcements about Diablo 4's because 30th anniversary, and because it ends in a zero, you'll have to have huge announcements.
Mhm.
And and it was a lot of announcements but it wasn't just for Diablo 4, it's for a lot of their games. But the part that became interesting to me was they announced a new class of character for Diablo 4, a warlock, but which would come with the new not the new season, but the new DLC that they're adding in April. But they announced that it would be ready now for Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is basically a reformulated version of the game, which apparently was the game of games for that franchise, Diablo 2. But what's fascinating to me is that when they announced it and they said it will be available now, and it created this renaissance for Diablo 2. I mean, they're selling like crazy for the people who didn't have it. The people who weren't playing, haven't played it for years, but it was like are literally on Reddit and all these forums reminiscing about how it changed their whole life, that game. I was a social recluse, da 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 da, that kind of stuff going on. But it's also the play time of the game has exploded. And I mean, it really revived the game to a level of you might as well have just produced a new game. It's just doing so well in the market. And I started to think about that because, look, when you're in the enterprise software world, you don't see that. You say, oh, the 3 versions ago, it was awesome. Let's use that again. What you tend to see is, I don't want to buy the new one just because we like this one, but I don't want to buy the new one. So there's a real distinct difference there. And I was wondering from your perspective, like how you see that, because that really blew me away with how big the response actually was. In fact, just cap it, Diablo 2, the Blizzard released it Warlock to Diablo 2 because they were also testing to see if they wanted to continue expanding the game. And they've already made, and this is what, 2 weeks later, a resounding decision that they're going to. It was that big a deal in terms of the revival. So, I mean, I get why enterprise software doesn't want to do it, but why does that kind of thing happen in the gaming world? I'm not sure there's a lesson to be drawn because it's so distinctly different,
I
but
could That it's a super interesting question. I mean, I think there's definitely a very real nostalgia movement in culture broadly among a certain age group, and so I think it just speaks to the love of franchises, how some of these things are evergreen, how you get imprinted, same as your favorite band, like whatever you listen to in college, that's your favorite band forever. I think for a lot of people, gaming is like that. And it does touch on, even though a video game is a giant software project, it also is very much of culture. It is different in that you are managing culture, you're navigating culture. And I tell people sometimes it's like, yes, it's like being a software development executive, but it's also like being a music label producer. You have to keep your eye on what is of the culture. And so, yeah, it is very different than enterprise software, where, like you said, you're competing on features, you're competing on functionality, you're trying to get people to change to what's new, and you have a backlog of features that were in the last version, and gaming just moves differently. So
Yeah, well, obviously on the enterprise side, it's because you see it with a lot of companies out there, especially, the introduction of AI says, okay, now we have to revamp even our operational technology to appropriate AI, so and make sure that AI can, and especially now agentic AI, can actually support operations, right? In the way that we need. Interestingly enough, there's this company called Pegasystems in the software. It's a billion and a half, maybe. That company's been around since 1984. Okay, one of the pioneers in business process management, CRM. We every year, Brent Leary and I have Alan Trefler, who's the CEO, on as a guest, and he made one of the most classic, as a result, of clip that we ever had, because we asked him at the time one year, "What do you think of the metaverse?" He said, "Well, I tend to think about it for the latter part of it, averse, right?" And right, and he just like broke us completely, and we have played that every year, right? So we just love it, and he was right, right? So, but the interesting thing with Pega is, um, they actually, when AI became a thing, and they began looking at enterprise, so they're an enterprise software company, and when AI became a thing, they actually decided, you know what, they kind of took a lesson from the gaming world, but it's to some degree, and I'm not sure it's fully conscious, although I do know they have some serious gamers there, which was, okay, let's provide a product we call a blueprint, which is what they call it, where you can build. It's basically a build your own, right? But it was not just vibe coding and stuff like that. This one is literally, you go in and you create a blueprint, and it then executes and builds whatever it is you build. But it really, I remember at the time thinking, this is literally like the modding world, right? Because it was. I mean, it's not like vibe coding is a different animal. This thing was, you went in and you took something, you could take a basic thing and alter it. One thing that it could do, and this was really the interesting part in terms of taking something old and making it new, was it could. There was one thing they showed us in a more recent iteration was, they took a video, and the video was a guy talking about a really old, like COBOL level old legacy financial services application, and it was like, you can apply for a loan and do this, and this is how you run, and this is the what you click here and do that, and then there was a document which was just a manual. They took the video, they took the manual, they dropped it into Blueprint. Blueprint went in and completely built a 21st century version of that, with even contemporary regulatory capabilities built into it. 21st century UI, which goes, one thing I've always noticed with the gaming world, they do that. That's one place where they do overlap, where they'll take a game like Diablo 2, and it's called Resurrected, partly because they made it, they can now be handled on 21st century displays, right? You don't have to wait. It doesn't have to be that, in a little box anymore. So those kind of things are intriguing, but I don't see beyond that, I don't really, where you kind of take this legacy thing and modernize it, I don't see a whole lot of overlap there. But at the same time, one thing, okay, so I'd like you to kind of, if you don't mind, dig a little deeper, because the real interesting thing to me, and it's the lesson you brought up, which was the cultural impact and fact that there's a nostalgia element and so on and so forth. This might be a hard question, and might be the answer is you can't. If you were trying to think of a creative way to do this, and it might be a stretch too, to apply this to the B2B world, how would you? I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. Usually I do, but not this time. I don't have an answer to that, but I am really keen on trying to figure it out, because the key to me in B2B, in any business really, is the culture of the people engaged in it. Right. So the question is, how do we apply this, or is it not applicable? And
Yeah, I don't know.
you're the Todd father here, Steve. So
That is a tough one.
yeah,
That is a tough one. I mean, I know specific to B2B and CRM, right? Which you're the godfather of CRM. I guess the area I would just be curious about and probe into is putting the R back in CRM. I feel like directionally, well, number one, it is interesting that we're going through a time where AI is, very disruptive in both the gaming space and the B2B space. The public markets are kind of freaking out and penalizing both gaming stocks and enterprise software stocks around, is AI just going to spin up this software and these games? And which is a whole topic we could talk about how real or what timeline. But at the end of the day, back to CRM, the nostalgia of the relationship. I know you're all about the people, right? I mean, the relationships that are built at your IRL event, where you're meeting in person and you're doing the relationship part, the part that can't be automated away with agents or AI or software for that matter. That would be the area I guess I would probe on. I don't think I've got an answer, but in terms of thinking about culture, thinking about what is AI proof, human connecting with other human. And I'm very pro AI as a tool, but I'm also always looking for the differentiator where humans get to be humans, right? And there's something very real about that. So yeah, there's something there that we could riff on a little.
We should dig into it a little bit, especially to your other point around, given that AI is kind of penetrating everything. The other thing I'm noticing, and this is where there is a weird overlap with the gaming world. So if I look at the traditional enterprise business technology landscape, especially folks around CRM, but generally too, there were 6 software companies that kind of were the big 6. There was Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, Salesforce, Adobe, and ServiceNow, those 6. With AI's inclusion into all this, all of a sudden that landscape has changed. They're not even directly related companies, but they all are engaging, and I'll almost say competitively, but I don't want to quite go there yet, but it's getting there. And here's the irony. That would be ServiceNow, Salesforce, Microsoft, Oracle, SAP-ish, Adobe's off the map, NVIDIA, AMD. It's also OpenAI, and Anthropic. I mean, all of a sudden, this kind of enterprise business technology group is this mishmash of hardware, software, and AI companies. And obviously, given NVIDIA and AMD are involved, there's the overlap around gaming. Now, has it shifted the big players on the gaming side in any way?
It has not yet, but we're in the middle of a very disruptive time. So number one, I'll just mention, and maybe we put a pin in this story for the next time we talk, Paul. But for the past couple of years, Matthew Ball, who is the one who really coined and popularized the metaverse term. Last year and now just a week ago, he dropped his state of gaming report. And we should definitely, maybe for our next episode, I'd love to give my take on that, because there's a lot of, it's 150 pages of metrics on where growth is coming from, where it's not, how AI and other things are disrupting it. So we'll put a future episode on that. But another kind of breaking story is for Xbox, of course, owned by Microsoft. Had gotten a lot of press that Phil Spencer, who was the CEO of Xbox for 25 years and a very legitimate game player, comes from the culture of gaming, very clear. So he's leaving after 25 years. The presumed number two, also leaving, resigned. And the new woman CEO is coming from Microsoft's AI group. And she comes from enterprise software. She does not come from gaming. She is not a gamer. So it's going to be really, these are where our worlds are kind of intersecting. But in this case, rather than gaming influencing enterprise, I would say enterprise. Her background is growing enterprises, growth, profitability, not a gamer. It's going to be really interesting to see. They're clearly one of the power brokers. They acquired Activision Blizzard, a few years ago. So whether they remain a gaming powerhouse, whether they divest that business completely, or whether they look at AI as a delivery or gaming as a delivery mechanism for their AI tech, which seems to be their high-level corporate mandate now, So it's going to be really interesting to watch. I will say that, one reason I think AI will not quickly displace the leaders is with gaming. It is not that there's a shortage of supply. There are more amazing games than there is time to play it. So it's really which companies and ecosystems not only have great games, but they have the distribution to help people discover that they exist, and they have the social network so you and I can play with one another. So that is really, in my mind, what is making the winners is the distribution social platform, even more than the quality of the game. You need both. But these days, if you could make more games faster, people don't have enough time to play them. So it's kind of a unique, element of B2C.
Well, a couple of points on that, actually, to your point. Number one is I honestly don't think Microsoft will divest. And the reason I think that is there's a cash cow part too. They own Blizzard also, right? Which is a gigantic moneymaker for them. It really makes a fortune. The funny thing with Microsoft, like of course, my world had been around Microsoft Dynamics because that's where CRM was, right? And if I'm looking at the entire Dynamics business, it was probably $5-6 billion, maybe, which is to anyone else a gigantic company. To Microsoft, should we keep it? But what Microsoft understands, and they understand this on an end-to-end basis, not just a business basis, is their ecosystem, and that they need certain things to make the ecosystem complete. Like there's no way in hell, if they were losing money on Dynamics, for example, they'd still have it, because they know from the standpoint of enterprise tech in particular, they need to have that component as part of an ecosystem that they can offer to a general business customer. But Microsoft, and I said this in 2006, and weirdly enough, what was his name? The crazy CEO of Microsoft. Blocking there. I literally was on a stage with him once, just him and me.
You don't mean Ballmer back?
Yeah, Ballmer, Steve Ballmer. Right. I should tell you that story someday about me. I followed, Ballmer was the speaker, then I was the speaker. It was amazing, weirdly amazing. Anyway, Ballmer even picked up on something I said, and which was, they're the only company on the planet that can actually provide an end-to-end ecosystem. When I say that, it's from personal all the way over through business, end-to-end, not just business. Oracle provides end-to-end business better than anybody. Microsoft is end-to-end your entire damn life, right? And they're the only company that can say that in any world whatsoever. So, those kind of things um, make me think Microsoft's going to, no matter what, keep the gaming component around. And again, I think Blizzard just seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Blizzard seems to just be a cash cow for those guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They 100% are a great business. It's just to your point, like, what is a giant revenue operation to many companies, to something the size of Microsoft, whether it's just a distraction or it's on strategy, really, I think they want to enable people and businesses to do great things with their tools and AI, and how gaming fits in there. We'll see. The North American gaming ecosystem, I mean, benefited tremendously from Xbox in its heyday. It was the console that you would mostly find in the US and UK. You didn't really find it anywhere else. Sony won the console wars, and now mobile is bigger. Console is declining, actually, as an overall business, and they need to innovate or really win back the core gamers that they kind of have alienated by positioning themselves to be a set-top box and Xbox everywhere and going in the services direction. So they're in a strange middle place right now, where they're at risk of losing the core gamers. They're not quite as accessible as, mobile or, streaming or some of these other things. So we'll see. It's going to be fascinating to watch. But North America would definitely benefit if they have a strong gaming option and recommit to it. So I hope they do.
You and me both. I with all of the problems Microsoft has, and to be honest, Copilot kind of sucks. With all the problems they have, and they were my client for, I don't know, 12, 15 years. In fact, back when they were figuring out, how to handle their Microsoft Surface. Remember that? Yeah. So I actually, this is an interesting story. I was pretty well known in CRM at that point. And I had written, for some reason, I got interested in their initial idea around the Surface, which initially was a gigantic, like, flat screen on a table, and then underneath it was a PC with Vista on it, Microsoft Vista. And it was the initial way they sold it was to what do you call it? Casinos, right? So
like the surface of a table, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you could push things. So anyway, they called me up. I had written something about it because I thought it was interesting on the customer side, the experience. And unbeknownst to them, which I was already, Microsoft was my client on the CRM side, and unbeknownst to the group that called me up, which was the Microsoft Live side, they asked me to be on an advisory board for Surface when it first came out. So I said, sure. So I went down. It didn't pay anything. It basically got nice, like, Toomey bags and stuff like that, and visits to the Microsoft campus, which I was doing anyway and actually getting paid for. So we go there and we're talking through the thing, and they're showing us this thing, and it was pretty cool. They showed you I remember they had one use case they showed was a restaurant menu being pushed across the table, but on the screen. So it would just pop up and you could see it on the screen and read it. And then another one was they were just pushing like a hockey puck. So which kind of a waste of a machine that was powered by Vista at the time. But so we're sitting around this table and they're asking a question, and they're saying, okay, so we're going to launch this in June, and we want to be ready for the launch. And this is where I realized where Microsoft was too big for itself, because the date they announced was the exact launch day of Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And it was like a really big, important launch. And I said to them, luckily I was sitting there, but I said to them, why are you planning it for that day? I said, Microsoft Dynamics CRM is being launched the same day. You'll undercut what they're doing. And it wasn't that. It was the answer I got. Oh, we didn't know that. That's the part I realized, okay, Microsoft, you're way too big for yourself at this point. Because if I had to tell you, then you got a real big problem here. Now, hopefully they fixed that kind of communication. They, interestingly, did not launch it that day. They did change it to their great credit. But micro again. That's to your point. The very fact you could even speculate they might want to jettison something like that. No one else in their right mind on their other company of significant size at all would think twice about keeping it. They would think, oh yeah, Microsoft could actually think about that, and it wouldn't be a dramatic hit on them at all.
Yeah.
So
It's fascinating, right? I mean, these big companies, the pros of diversification versus the cons of distracted focus. These are hard things to navigate. Around alignment, particularly when something so revolutionary as AI and technology stack changing completely is on the table. So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. So
well, all right. So we do have a guest who is in the green room right now. And I think I introduce him. Let's go. You want to go over to the other room?
yeah, let's go. It's a little more comfortable there, and I think our guests will be more comfortable. So yeah, I'll see you over there.
Yeah, in about 15 seconds.
Yeah,
we'll have to run though.
Yep.
All right. Way better.
Much better. More pixel art. Level up. We're going to level up with the special guest. We're going to learn some things together, right?
Yeah. And so let me tell you about this guy. I haven't even known him a week yet.
Okay.
I think I've known him, what's today? Thursday. No, I've known him a week. Okay. I've known him a week. So I was at Zoho's Analyst Summit, because Zoho is a major sponsor of IRL 2026. And, honestly, I want to see my friends. I've known Zoho, as Zoho said, they're out of their 30 years. I've known them 32. That's literally what they said at the event. So I'm sitting at a table, and this gentleman sits down next to me, and Erwin Lazar, who's a very good friend of mine who lives locally, he's another analyst who was at the event, introduces me to him. He says, oh, this is David Maldow, and he's in video. He does video stuff. And David and I start talking, and had a really great discussion. Like, I just loved him right away. And then he started showing me some of the stuff he did. Like, one thing I wish I could do, honestly, but I can't. So imagine us here, but we're clearly in two different places. The way David does it, we look like we're in the same studio. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And we look live in the same studio, mm-hmm. and it's seamless, utterly seamless. That was just one of the things he showed me. But he actually is the CEO of a company called Let's Do Video. He's got a YouTube presence that has some real. I highly recommend that people go to it. Let's Do Video and take a look at the videos he actually has produced there. It's very instructional on the one hand, and just really good quality stuff. Turns out he's also a monster gamer and has been forever. And learned a few things. So let us bring on my new friend, and now your new friend, David Maldow. There he is. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hi. He's in his own studio. I like that.
I like that background.
Good to see you. Thank you. I keep forgetting where it is. I have to Google where it is, and I remember. Well, that's right. It's that city, and then I forget again.
Got it. Well, where aside from your virtual location, where are you in IRL?
I'm in South Florida, near Fort Lauderdale.
Awesome.
But I'm originally from New Jersey, so that if that's what I sound like, because
that's you never lose the accent. New Jersey or New York, it never goes away. The only thing you learn when I went to Northwestern, right? It's the Midwest, of course. So I found out when I went to Northwestern that there were 26, not 25 letters in the alphabet. There's an R, right? I did not know that until I got there.
Yes.
That's funny.
I had no idea. So David, talk about your gaming history a little. It was really interesting. I know this couple you were like fanatic about.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the Atari. It goes back to Space Invaders, and just never stopped, every iteration all the way through. And with PC gaming, I had friends, and it sounded silly, and I was embarrassed to talk about it, but they were real friends. They were teammates. I wasn't that good at soccer, and my best friend was, and I saw the camaraderie and the trust and knowing that his teammate is good at this and he's good at that, and working together. I'm like, I'm not experiencing that. And when I played Unreal Tournament, which was Quake was the real game, and for some reason, some weirdos decided they liked Unreal Tournament better. I was one of those, but it was a great game. And I was they called ourselves clans, and we were on ladders. We'd meet, we'd practice every day, but we'd play against other clans, and I had a certain position because I was certain good with a certain weapon, and it was this, and then I never looked back. Then every online game, Diablo 2, World of Warcraft, Dark Age of Camelot, somewhere in the mix, which was still nothing like it. Still nothing like it. It's the only game that it mattered what happened. It mattered what happened.
Why?
Any other game, it's like, oh, you
know the game.
just log in again, and you do it again. No, Dark Age of Camelot, they took our relics. It's gonna be bad for months.
That was when I was at I was part of a studio, High Res Studios, and one of our lead programmer, Chris Larson, he was hardcore Dark Age of Camelot. They had the 3 factions that kept it balanced, interestingly, and he was playing that and EverQuest like hardcore at the time, right before we started the studio. But he raves about that game. I never played it, but he definitely brought some of those ideas into our projects. He was a big fan of that game. Yeah. So you have old school cred if you played Dark Age of Camelot, for sure.
That was the first, MMORP, all that. But then when Warcraft hit, everyone just jumped over to Warcraft.
Yeah.
I mean,
too much polish, too much.
Yeah. It was so much prettier, and things worked so much better, and the game flow was so much better. Dark Age of Camelot was tough. You get to there were blocks in the leveling. You get to level 17, and there's no quests, and the monsters that you can kill give no experience anymore, and the next monsters you can't kill. And what do? You gotta find a group of people who are level 30 that'll let you sit in their group and, thank you, sir. Can I have some experience?
Carry you through.
Wow.
World of Warcraft, every level there are quests that give you a lot of experience. There's never a feeling of I'm stalled. It's like I can't go to sleep because this next quest is going to get me there.
Yeah.
Warcraft.
So do you are you still gaming a bit today, even if not at your MMORPG WoW days?
I've been, streaming and gaming kind of blurred at some point, and I've dabbled. I'm not a regular, like I log in every night and play Warcraft like I used to. Elden Ring was a big one. I went through it twice. A weird game called They Are Billions. I was hooked to for a while. Very, very cool. But for me, the big one, and this combined streaming with gaming, was Rocksmith. You guys know Rocksmith?
I know of it, but I don't know it.
Oh, it's wonderful. I always loved those Guitar Hero games with the plastic guitar. It's so much fun. I thought it was so. When I first saw that, I'm like, you can't pay me to look so silly to try that. But 10 seconds into the first song, this is the best feeling I've ever felt in my life.
Totally.
And
you're a rock star.
Oh my God! And the drums are real drumming on. I mean, the plastic guitar is plastic, but the drums is real. But I've always been. I consider myself a guitar owner. Right? I had a guitar, but it's in the closet. I played it 3 months ago. I took it out and played it for 2 months. I know the chords, and I go dun 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 dun. And my sister says, "Oh, you play great." She loves me, but. And I could play Nirvana, right? I could play the Nirvana riff. I just didn't have the discipline to practice. I didn't have the discipline in lessons. Even with YouTube helping, I just didn't have the discipline. Rocksmith makes it a game. The colors come down. It looks like Guitar Hero. And in a week, you learn how to read it. That part's easy. And then you're just, people say, oh, but you're not getting the right technique and you might be doing it wrong. Same with every bedroom guitarist who ever lived. Same with Eddie Van Halen. He didn't take lessons. He learned, so it's all about time. And with Rocksmith, I can play for 4 hours. And I feel like I just played a game. Whereas with practice, 7 minutes in, I'm like, this is killing me. So I got really good. So, and the thing was, just as I got into Rocksmith, I got into Twitch. I just happened to find Reddit send me to Twitch. And sent me to League of Legends, which I played a little bit, but I wasn't that good at. But I was following League of Legends like people follow sports. I was, oh my God, Cloud9. woo, I was rooting for them. I was watching it live and everything. And I saw someone streaming a Rocksmith. This is perfect. So I downloaded OBS and I set it up. And I was so shy that I only showed the Rocksmith. I didn't show me.
Yeah, no
And then
face cam, right?
I got a little less shy. I turned on the camera and I had it pointed at my guitar. Then I got a little less shy. I kept working my way out. And then I started working with the OBS tricks. And I started spending as much time with that as it's amazing. My business was being an analyst for business video. Companies like Zoom, they talk to me about their meeting room video bars and stuff. And I'm spending all this time developing my streaming and spending hours and hours with OBS. I have hundreds of scenes and buttons on my stream deck. At one point, I developed a trick that I'd seen no one else do before. And I put it on YouTube and I say, can anyone else do this live? I bet you could do it recorded, but have something disappear and fade back. And everyone's like, how did you do that? There's no plugin, or the opposite, have it appear and fade away. I could do it with video. I could do it with everything. And a plugin developer reached out to me. One of the top 2 plugin developers was like, you got to tell me how you did that so I could put it in my plugin. So I met with him. He's one of my best friends now. And it's in a plugin with my initials. So I'm all over the OBS and stream. So if a few tricks I like to,
there we go.
myself.
That is cool.
Right. And I use them with my clients. I have a client that has a show, it's Ad Talk, Ad Tech, Ad Talk. It's like the old car talk show. They take questions from the audience.
Oh yeah.
So I use this for them. They're behind the desk, the 2 of them. So I put them in it. I always joke, during webinars, I'll bring this up and say, I know you're working hard and you need this important information for your webinar. So I'll keep it. But I just love the skew. For most of my videos, what I do is I use my boardroom. Let me see. and because I cover boardroom video, so if I'm doing a video for someone's video bar, I put the bar up there and I say, hey, I'm using, zoom in, of course. I use that. There we go. And I put whatever in the screen behind me, and I put my guest next to me. And until recently, I had a clunky way of doing it. My guest was always lower resolution, but I just did a video. It's on my channel about Zoom broadcast tools.
Yeah. Now
my guests are equal quality to me. It's
that's
really
what you showed me.
Yes. And that's what I use for my clients now. So the hobby of Rocksmith transitioned into making my coverage of business video a little more shiny than my competitors. Everyone else is doing Zoom interviews, and I'm having these kind of interviews. I'm having a little more fun. And then that evolved to me having a client who's not even from my industry, who just saw this and said, hey, I want to do a live YouTube show. I want to take questions. And I put the questions up on the screen as they come in, the whole thing. And I have a million other scenes for them that are just for them. Now that I have AI doing graphics for me, which I feel guilty about. I'm sorry, artists, when I get rich, I will pay human artists. But for now, I got the show must go on.
Yeah.
So the gaming and the streaming, there's something I'll send a link after. I forgot. I should have set this up in my guitar stream. If I say the words, if I have a lot of voice commands, something like "Let's go to the arcade," it shows this cartoon arcade with all these, and it looks like 80s, all these cabinets, and I'm tiny, but I'm live. It's me. And I float up to one, and when I float in, it zooms in. And if it's Donkey Kong, it'll zoom in, and I'll be in the Donkey Kong standing next to the princess. Could you imagine the time it took me? I did one every couple of days for weeks to build an entire arcade. So it all ties together. I mean, a couple more. For myself, beep beep. It's so easy, but people love it, and it adds so much to it. The little dragon.
Oh, now you're talking.
Right.
That's great. Yeah, that's great stuff. I love it. I mean, the presentation is really nice and clean, and the fact that you were experimenting with your own gaming stream and then bringing those techniques over to business clients is really cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool. And it's also, the funny thing is, if you look at, for years, I've been, one of the things I do when I'm meeting with my clients is talk to them about engagement via video production, right? Now, some like I have examples I use, like because ultimately I'm in the. If you go back, I don't know if you remember these two videos at all, but Corning did what became a pretty famous video called "A Day Made of Glass," and it should only be the first one. Absolutely phenomenal video. Not a word is spoken in the entire video. It's a family of the near future, which is now a lot of that stuff is now, but this is in the the early aughts of this century or the mid aughts, and there's music that runs in the background, and it's a day in the life. And the only thing they do is when somebody uses a certain kind of glass, at the bottom it'll say name it like Gorilla Glass, and then it'll have like three adjectives associated with it, and that's it. And not a single word is spoken. This entire video had tens and tens and tens of millions of views. Day in the life, because to the point of all of these things, including your stuff and gaming and everything, is the ultimately the person who's doing the viewing or the acting in it, meaning they're taking an action, is got to be saying, yeah, I can see myself as part of that somehow, right? Somehow, like when you're gaming, I know when I'm playing Diablo 4, I'm whatever my character is. If I'm a paladin, I'm the paladin. And I give it a name. It's usually the first name of a New York Yankee. Like my most successful character ever this season is getting trillions of DPS is a paladin named Jackson, who's actually Jaxson, which is the first name of the New York Giants' new quarterback, right? But he's really good. If he's half as good as my character, we're gonna be undefeated next year, right? So, but it's that level. It's so I don't want to call it immersion because it's not quite that, but it is engagement, right? And these another very famous early so-called what do you call it? Not crowdsourcing. What's flash mob video. It wasn't really a flash mob since it was obviously orchestrated. Was at Bank Santander, which is a Spanish bank, has some U.S. branches. Coming out of the bank, it's these musicians. They end up doing Beethoven's Ninth, the Hallelujah Chorus. The entire crowd that gathered around watches them is participating in it, and that was real. And then everyone's filming this, and it's amazing. And the only reference you have is Bank Santander coming out of that, and at the end it mentions the bank in the voiceover, and that's it. But the video tells you you're going to remember Bank Santander, like I do, right? So those kind of things which become engaging. Again, they don't have to be totally immersive, but they just have to be engaging, and that's exactly what you're doing. Everything I saw, my thought was, oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's like, oh, I want to be in that, or I want to be part of that, or I want to have that.
Creating memorable moments. Yeah, I love it. Well, I will definitely be following up with you, David, because when I'm not talking with Paul, our company does a lot of live events, and we have live streaming as well, and we try to apply the lessons of gaming, to live events and have the event itself not be boring at the end of the day. And so, yeah, I could see some of your tips and tricks and techniques being really valuable, to some of our audience and clients as partners as well. So
yeah, I mean that's the thing.
I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead, Tom. Go ahead, David.
You mentioned something, and it's like a magical moment that happens in gaming, and I try to do the same thing when I'm streaming, and it's like the first game that I really remember this happening was Bionic Commando on the Nintendo. It was very, rudimentary, but you had a little bionic arm and you reach out and grabbed and everything. And the last time I experienced it was Elden Ring. And it was the same moment. And it's when there's a shift. And sometimes it's a shift over days, and sometimes it's like that. But it's from, okay, if I want to swing my sword, I got to hit A button and then hit B button to dodge, as opposed to I'm swinging my sword and I'm dodging.
Right.
And it is immersion, and it is becoming the character. It's instead of, with Bionic Commando, instead of left, right, it was swing, grab, and by the end of Elden Ring, you don't feel like you're playing the character. You are that character. You are in that fight, and to a lesser extent, I try to when I'm doing this stream, when I'm doing the show, even when I'm producing, I have a show that I produce for clients, and they have a segment called Stinked In, where they make fun of LinkedIn posts. And it's a back alley. It's all green and stinky. There's a dumpster in the middle where I put the posts, and I have a garbage can on each side. And I have them, like right now, you see my torso. I have them stuck in the garbage cans. And they don't say, okay, David, click the button in OBS to bring up the graphics of the thing. They say, let's go to the back alley. You gotta, maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but it's the same kind of thing. It's not, you gotta go with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously gaming, like you said, there's the, mechanics of swinging a sword, and then there's the world building and the environment that you're in. And clearly that one, you're leaning into that, right? You're creating these virtual environments, you're putting people in different positions, and then we all get to kind of put on a different mask, like being a different avatar in a game, like Paul being his paladin. You get to play with it a little bit and not, just be in a square necessarily. You're riding a dragon, or you're in a car, or you're in the trash bin.
Right.
So I like it. I think it's very game oriented, in terms of the environment.
Well, it's funny because the emotional side of it's really interesting too. Is like, I know, for example, I play, I don't play hardcore because I don't want to start. I'm too old, man. I'm 76. The last thing I want to do is spend another 5 years developing something that just took me 5 years, and then I died, and that was the end of it. So
not too hardcore either.
No, softcore only. But even then, when I get killed, nothing really happens. You just resurrect and repair. But at the same time, you go, as soon as it happens, right? It drives you crazy. Immediately you go, oh, or the other time is I would have, let's say, if I have a character of some sort, doesn't have to be in Diablo, and something happens, or no, you're thinking about doing something, and then you don't do it because you might die or you might not be able to pull it off. There's no actual consequence to failing at that. It's just, it doesn't happen. You do it and try again, but you don't treat it that way. You treat it like there's a real consequence to failure. Look, another example, playing Diablo 2 Resurrected. It's kind of tired of season 11 already. I've pretty much maxed out on the season, so I stopped, and I'm waiting for a 1 month season 12, and then the new big drop for the 30th anniversary and the new DLC. I'm playing Diablo 2 Resurrected, the first time I've ever played Diablo 2. I played 3, that's where I started. So so I'm playing Resurrected, and I got killed by Andariel because I'm not familiar with it yet, so I'm just doing stuff to see how to get familiar. I get killed by Andariel. I did not know it, but all my gear and all my money and all my gold disappeared, like all of it. And I thought, what? It's like you
got to go back to your corpse. You got to go back and get it.
I didn't know
there.
At the time. Luckily, I found out one little trick with the Resurrected. At least, typically, I'd have to go back to Andariel, get it before he tries to kill me again.
Yeah.
Now, if you actually leave the game and come back in, your corpse is literally sitting in there.
Oh, they bring it back to camp for you.
They bring it into camp. So I just do that. But I didn't know that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I just spent 15 hours doing this. Right. And now it's and disappeared. And why? I thought it was like a glitch or so. I had no idea. But it was like the feeling was horrible. Right. I just lost all my gear. I have to start over. My
and by the time you get to Andariel, you're good 5-10 hours in.
I'm 10 hours actually, 12
10 hours
to be exact. Yeah.
And Andariel is not opening scene.
Well, no, I'm well into this.
It's such a great game. You're gonna make me want to play again. I don't have time for this.
See? Nostalgia.
I don't either, but so what?
Not just nostalgia, but good.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
There's bands from the 60s that I listen to because nostalgia. Led Zeppelin I listen to because it's just still that good.
Still rocks. Still rocks.
Jimi Hendrix. That's my guy.
So David, I want to in terms of actionable tips, I guess, for maybe our business audience, if everybody's on Zoom or Teams or whatever, and clearly they might give you a call if they really want to spruce up things. But are there any out of the box best practices that you have for clients, just to make their video meetings or content more engaging? You know, maybe the easy button that they're not taking advantage of. Any thoughts?
You know, the good news is most of y'all figured out the basics. I when the pandemic hit, I was worried because everyone was getting on video and everyone had the up the nose view and the top of the head view and the zoomed in view and the backlit view where you can't see anything. And I would get on a family Zoom, pandemic Zoom, with all my cousins, and all their wives would say, "How come David looks so good? Cousin David looks so good, and you look like a slob. What's going on here?" And I'm like, I'm gonna have to make some best tips videos. And a week and a half, 2 weeks into vanity is a very powerful thing. Everyone looks like a newscaster. You all figured it out, right? You all look. Everyone's framed like me. About this, some a little closer, a little farther. Basically, newscaster framing. Light in front, not in back. If you can get a mic close to your mouth, that's good. If you can't get a decent mic, don't use the laptop mic if you can help it. And that's 99.9% of it.
Amen. And lighting.
That's true. Basics, but they go a long way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say it's a journey that you never get there. I need 3-point lighting. I have 2-point lighting. If you look closely, my hair's flickering because the green screen can't handle it. To be honest, green screen I don't think is final version. I think final version is a gorgeous studio with my guitars on the wall and neon lighting and everything.
Yeah.
And a green screen that pops up when I want to do fun stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
So
cool.
For everyone, it's a journey. It's like Pitfall. When I first played Pitfall as a kid, I was like, this is fun, but when do we get to the castle? When do we get to the... some games have a big journey and then a little boss fight at the end. Some games are all about the boss fight. Pitfall is no boss fight. Journey. And life is about the journey. There's a life lesson there. But Pitfall really took it to the extreme. I'm like, it's got to end. Nope.
Just more vines, more gators, more
vines and gators.
I love it. And then I guess also how are you personally thinking about AI for your workflow? How do you keep up? Any thoughts you have, in terms of applying that to your video production flow?
Yeah, it's funny. I have a show, if you look on my channel, the AI Chefs. And another analyst and I, we sit next to each other. I used AI to make a kitchen, a chef's kitchen. So it's like a chef show. We're behind the counter and we have AI has hats, stay on our heads, and we give tips about prompts and stuff. So I have all kinds of tips about it. But top level, if I was rich and budget was no option, and I wanted to continue doing this because I love it, but I can get anything I want, the first thing I would do is I would hire a personal assistant, actually 2, because I would want 24 hours. I wake up 3 a.m, like Prince had with his people in his studio, right? He could just walk down Paisley Park and someone would be there ready to record his drums. And I would want, I'm not having it. I would want someone smart who knows how to look up everything, who's an expert in everything. I would, that would cost me $300,000. When people say, "Oh, ChatGPT is not that good," I asked her for a recipe and it gave me the wrong kind of pepper. Something. What would it cost to have a personal assistant who's there all the time and once in a while makes a mistake and gives you the wrong kind of pepper? So that's what I do with because I there's some things I think are cheating still. If I had AI make a video of me playing guitar and playing a song that I can't really play, which you can do now, I wouldn't do that. That's cheating. If I want to make a video of me saying, "Hey, this is AI David giving a quick summary of the latest videos. Come on the channel to watch them." That's fine, But for the most part, it's personal assistant stuff. I make a video, personal assistant, write the description for YouTube. I don't want to write the description for YouTube. That's not cheating. No. Or give me 10 ideas for the YouTube title, and then I'll alter one of them and come up with it myself, and make me graphics. Make me so many graphics. I feel so bad for the artists. All my best friends in college were artists. My heart breaks over this, but I use them. I need them. I need the AI graphics. They do it.
I think that's critical point is the thing AI does that humans don't is they get you things when you need them, right? And look, to your point, look, I build my own PCs. I build my own gaming PCs and so on. This machine, the one I'm doing right now, the PPN Studio machine only, and it's failing. I'm starting to crash. 4 years old. So I'll build my own machine, but I usually spend meticulous amount of hours in researching the parts. I don't have time for this because this is a machine that is necessary for the stuff I'm doing with the network. So I went to Claude, said, hey, I want an AMD machine. I want it to be optimal for live streaming. I don't care if it has anything to do with gaming because Claude tends to remember that I do that and sends me overkill. And within 5 minutes, I had the parts I needed, which usually takes me personally a month because I'm spending so much time and I'm researching everything. I'm working on compatibilities and everything else to make sure.
I get obsessive with the parts research.
Well, and I do too. But you know what? And when I'm building a gaming machine, that's fine. But when I'm doing this, which I need to replace something, I could just buy a pre-made one, but I know they're not going to be as good. And if Claude's right, with the machine I asked it for, and I did it right before the show, so I don't know the details yet. I'll build it, and I'll build it in 4 hours, and I'll have it. I just have to get the parts. So, but that's what I'm saying. The AI's value is it gives you something when you need it, right? And that's actually more important than gives you something.
Yeah. Got the world's greatest, most learned professors in your pocket. Now, sometimes they say crazy stuff. You got to check with the other professor, triangulate, but it's amazing for lifelong learners. I feel it's an incredible time to be alive, honestly, because it gives you personalized knowledge. It keeps breaking it down until you can understand. So it's pretty powerful.
One last question, because it's time.
Yep.
So, David, if you're looking at next 6 months to a year, and there's all the games that are on the market now are the games on the market now, right? And you have to pick one you want to play desperately, and time is irrelevant here, meaning there's nothing in your way to play it. What is it? One you don't have.
I think I got to. I mean, I haven't. Does Diablo 2 count? I haven't played it in years, and I haven't played the Warlock.
Oh, it counts, and it's Resurrected, Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is a recent incarnation of it.
Definitely. Right, it's a little prettier, right? They cleaned it up a little
2 weeks old. So yeah, that counts. All right, I'm in. I'm with you. I'm playing now.
Thanks. I'm tempted to do another run of Elden Ring, and I never got. There was an expansion pack for Elden Ring. I mean, if I loved it that much, how could I not play the expansion pack?
No, I know. I know what. Based on our conversation at the event, I went and looked at Elden Ring, which
can I show you?
For some reason, Elden Ring's never on sale, but it was daunting looking to me, man. It was scaring me when I looked at it. I said, how am I going to?
It's a massive game.
I don't know if I could pull it off. I mean, I'm good at Diablo 4, where it's kind of
look at this. So
everybody.
This is what you see when you do the 10-minute tutorial and you come out of the cave. This is your first look at the world. And the design is so good. You can see how all these sight lines, this is actually a life lesson, a design lesson. Tell people things without telling them. It doesn't say, there's no quest saying go to this castle, but it's right there in front of you, and everything is, all the sight lines are pointing to it.
Composition, the lighting points you to it, like a good piece of art. So
you're not kidding.
Amazing.
Game design.
Well, David, sorry, I was just going to say, because
Sorry.
we're coming on time. I think just let people know where they can find you and your content and all these tips and tricks.
You can find me at letsdovideo.com or on YouTube, Let's Do Video, and also on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's search engine's so terrible, but I'm on there somewhere, David Maldow. And this thing works. This should take you to I think the YouTube.
Yeah, you gave me that, and it does. So
amazing.
All right, and David, just one last thing. I will be watch on you where we communicate on LinkedIn. I'll be watch for something from me later today.
Awesome.
All right, thank you, sir.
This was fun.
Thanks, man. It was great connecting. I will definitely hit you on LinkedIn after this. So love what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. See, isn't he a great guy? I mean, it's like you can't help but like him right away, too.
Yeah, gaming, video, tricks,
I mean, the
streamer.
his connections are like solid as a rock. What he says and does too.
Yeah,
I mean, he
100%.
knows his stuff, and you saw how good his work is.
Yeah, it's clean, very clean.
Yeah, it's clean. It's interesting. It keeps you immersed, engaged, and immersed. That's phenomenal. All right,
we need more fun. We need more fun in the B2B world, right? And in the world in general. So,
well, I'll tell you, the B2B. If we start with the B2B world, that will literally be a world-class achievement.
yeah,
I don't expect to see it in my lifetime, even if I live another 30 years. So, right.
Awesome.
But we'll see.
Awesome.
All right. So I guess a month from now, right?
Yeah. We'll see everybody in a month.
And we'll see what everyone's thinking then. And other than that, everyone, March, it'll be after our conference, March 11th and 12th, IRL 2026. It's really, really shaping up well. The only missing piece is Todd. Outside of that, he can't go, and it's a legitimate reason, man. Yeah. But he will be missed.
Vietnam calls, but I'll come back with good stories, and we'll
we will talk about on March, whatever the last Tuesday in March is. So other than that, I will see some of you at IRL 2026, and we will see you at the end of March.
That's right.
Ready, sir?
I am.
Here we go.
This has been a Players Productions Network digital broadcast.